Hello and welcome to the Michael Mama Show. I'm your host, Michael Mamas, and we're coming to you from Mount Soma, home of the Sri Someshwara Temple in the mountains of western North Carolina. And I think this week we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, and that is one-liners, short quotes. And I think what makes just comes to mind, this idea of a picture is worth 1,000 words. I think sometimes a one-liner is worth 1,000 words. And why is that? Because if somebody talks too much about something, it's almost like they're taking your brain and kind of trying to manhandle it to the ground. Whereas if there's a simple one-liner, it sort of invites the listener, the reader, to just look deeper on their own, to reflect on it. And that's where real truth lies. All knowledge is contained within the absolute, the one thing that's the source of everything. And a well-done one-liner I think it inspires a person to actually transcend, and to transcend on that concept, and then to get a deeper understanding of it. The only obstacle of that is if somebody is so caught up in their thoughts that they hear the one-liner and they start nitpicking it apart and trying to analyze it intellectually. And that's not really what I'm talking about so much. I mean, you can do that lightly, but really the value is if you can just sort of go deeper with it within your own self without getting too caught up in the weeds of mental entanglements, if that makes sense. So let's just use some what I think are beautiful examples. Okay, again, driving by that church, I like to talk about from time to time. They have on their poster there this week. They said Jesus loves the worst of the worst. Okay, what does that mean? What that means is that everything in the absolute is in the absolute in its essence. So I don't care how horrible a person might be, how convoluted their thinking and their thought patterns and their identities and everything may be that alter really poor behavior on the surface. Getting past all of that and looking at the depth, they're one with God, they're divine. It's not an excuse for bad behavior in any way, shape, or form, but it's just the principle that's going on. We need to have a pragmatic relationship with that. But the underlying truth is there. And what would be great is if there was a way of helping a person unravel all of that identity and terrible thinking, confused emotions and all that, and have them access their deeper wisdom, which is the essence of who it is they really are. That's another topic, and not so easy to do. Another nice one-liner: morality versus moralism. I think that's just great. And it says it all really in seed form. There's moralism, and there are all kinds of isms, all kinds of moralisms. Al-Qaeda has their moralism. All the different groups and subgroups, cultures and subcultures, they all have their own moralisms. But is that morality? Real morality comes from where? Same thing. Everything goes back to the transcendental essence, that field of infinite harmony, intelligence, and wisdom. And from there, morality will well up in its pure form. We don't want to get simplistic about that either, because morality changes from culture to culture. There are different moral principles. So it's not like you're going to get this one divine moral principle and that's it, and now you know everything how to be moral. It's more profound than that. In other words, from the trunk of the tree of the essence of life emerge many branches. Okay, let's do another one. I really liked this one. dealing with my computer here a little bit. I like this expression, the fake reality diesel. That's so good. It alludes to that principle of conditioning of the mind, programming of the mind. We get, and it goes beyond morality, certainly. It applies to everything. What we see when we look at a picture, what we think of as reality, it so conditions the mind that we can't get past it. And I was doing some work with artificial intelligence, which I'm really enjoying. Artificial intelligence is great, but for the first time, I kind of got in an argument with the AI because it was taking the stance of pure allopathic, and I was saying that, you know, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, there's validity to those things. We kind of came to a meeting ground, but it sounded to me like the FDA and the AMA sort of had a hand in how they are controlling AI, which is an interesting subject in and of itself, isn't it, Scotty? That AI is only because it's programmed and indoctrinated, and it gets indoctrinated. Yeah, and it gets indoctrinated on the internet, and wherever it goes, access information that it considers to be true. At the same time, AI is fabulous. If you're not using artificial intelligence, just go on AI mode or any of them, Grok, GROK, whatever. Just start asking questions. It's fascinating. Oh yeah, and then even with this, just for fun of it, I took my notes, and you'll see them when you go online here with us. But I took my notes and just ran them by AI. What do you think? And it was really, they did a nice job, and I think I'll continue to do it just because they, fixed the grammar, cleaned it up a little bit. But really, their understanding of the principles wasn't really very solid. Why? Because I don't think it has at least I could work with it, I think, and it would start to understand the absolute, the transcendent, how that equates to God, what the unified field is, so, and how everything emerges out of that. But really, it had a hard time with it, you know. For example, take the reality diesel that made a comment, something about, well, if somebody gets lost in their emotions, so diesel with their emotions. It's more than, it's deeper than that, you know. Making sense to you, Scotty?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I kind of explained to it. Oh, it's funny because I kind of explained to it the truth is an abstraction that lies at the depth of our being, of the depth of everything. And I gave a few sentences like that, and said, now, you know, correct the things you did. And I told it what to delete because it didn't really understand what I was saying. And it's just funny what it did. It deleted those things and then just added my comments. No revision, no. It was interesting because usually it's so creative and insightful, and here it was kind of not. Does that make sense, Scotty? What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, I was using it to put some ideas together for, the stuff that we're doing, and how to, best organize it. And it was pretty good about doing all that,
Yeah, I think, well, I know Marshy once said that I'd like to see them ever program infinity into a computer. And they won't be able to, and that was his point. So see, there's a certain limitation to, machines and even AI. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes, See, all these things, and you're free. I encourage you to think for yourself with respect to different quotes. And the beauty of them is if you can take a quote and let it touch a place inside of you that's not getting caught up in the weeds of your own conflicts and intellectual inner debates, or even debates with something someone else is saying. You see, if they say too much, then you get so caught up and you get lost in the weeds. But if you can take a one-liner and just feel into it without getting too caught up in the words and the intellectualization around it, that's where you find the wisdom of it. Wisdom lies in the absolute, in the degree to which that absolute value wells up into any topic. That determines how wise the comment is. It's not about on the surface and picking and analyzing. That's not wisdom. Okay. Oh, I like this one. This is really good. We live in an age of over-inflammation. Information. That's funny. That's really funny.
Inflammation too works.
That's what it is. Over-information is over-inflammation. We live in an age of over-information and under-knowledge. That really says everything I've just been saying, and it's so succinctly. Knowledge lies deeper than information. And at some point, the more knowledge, the more information you get, the less knowledge you have, because again, you get so caught up in the weeds. But aren't one-liners beautiful? That just says it all. We live in an age of over-information and under-knowledge. It's the principle, that's the key to life. If you can tap that place of pure knowledge, infinite wisdom within yourself. And we're not talking about some la-la land thing here. We're talking about the nature of human physiology, the grandeur of the cosmic computer of the human mind, is it has the capability of doing that if we just refine it and free ourselves from identity with the weeds, getting caught up in over-information or what have you, and getting indoctrinated and conditioned to think a certain way, and calling that, a person of morality, where it's really moralism. Our insight being confused with a fake reality diesel. It's just controlling your mind, Oh, let me see, there was another this was a really good one. It was Sabalenka. She won the finals at the US Open. And at the end, she made a great comment. She said, I think it was at the end or maybe in an interview. She said, she's been working with sports therapists, which a lot of athletes do. And the principle he said is don't let your emotions take you over. Don't let them control you. And isn't that beautiful? Doesn't that say it another way? Emotions are surface, and we can get so caught up in our emotions that we think it's who we are, it's what we identify with, it's what we lose ourselves to. And when we do that, we lose touch with that deeper inner wisdom, that deeper, stable anchor that gives real purity of direction to our lives, and even how we hit a tennis ball. Isn't that a great study?
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful quote, and so pragmatic, so down to earth, and so beautifully mapping onto the fundamental principles of the nature of life and existence that elude many people. Even we take Vedic literature and we read and study Vedic literature, and too often I know this hymn, or I memorized this, or I know this, or oh yeah, I get that. And even the way we try to learn Vedic literature is to memorize, okay, what's Shruti, what's Smriti, what's this, what's that. That's all good, but it's transcending on it. It's going deeper. That has the real value. All right, I hope that all makes sense, and I think that's good enough for this week. Scotty, what do you think?
Yeah, that was good.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and I'm glad we got through this podcast because the last couple we were having computer troubles, if you recall. Okay, thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.